Tonight, we begin a quiet journey that may gently change the way you see your place in the universe. Not through cold numbers or overwhelming equations, and not simply by comparing Earth to the Sun or to distant giant planets, but by slowly feeling the true scale of everything that exists beyond us. This is a journey meant to be sensed, not rushed, and allowed to unfold in your imagination. Most of us move through our lives without ever fully confronting one simple truth. Earth is not just small. When placed within the real context of the cosmos, it becomes so tiny that it nearly disappears from our everyday intuition. The vastness beyond our world is not something our minds evolve to grasp easily, and yet it surrounds us completely. As this journey unfolds, you may find your thoughts becoming quieter, your sense of scale shifting, and your perspective gently expanding. By the time we reach the end, you may not only see our home planet differently, but also feel a deeper sense of humility about your own place within the great cosmic story. So now, allow yourself to slow down, take a breath. Let the noise of the day fade away, and begin from the most familiar place of all. We begin right here on Earth. The world we once believed was unimaginably vast. From the surface of Earth, our world feels endless. The ground stretches outward in every direction. The horizon curves away beyond our sight, and the sky rises above us like an infinite dome. Standing here, it is natural to feel that this planet is vast, solid, and complete in itself. Oceans cover most of the surface, their depths hiding entire landscapes that remain unseen and unexplored. Continents drift slowly over geological time, carrying mountains, forests, deserts, and cities upon their backs. From where we stand, Earth feels not only large, but impossibly full, layered with detail and life in every direction. For most of human history, this feeling defined reality itself. Ancient people looked up at the sky and saw lights moving across a great celestial ceiling, while the earth beneath their feet felt fixed, unmoving, and central. The ground was the foundation of existence, and the heavens seemed to revolve around it. To early civilizations, the scale of the world was measured by the distance a person could walk, ride, or sail. Mountains marked the edges of maps. Oceans felt like boundaries rather than pathways, and the idea of a curved planet was almost unimaginable. Earth was not a sphere floating in space, but a vast stage upon which all stories unfolded. Even today, despite satellites and global maps, our instincts remain much the same. We still experience Earth through travel times, through days and nights, through journeys that take hours or years to complete. Flying across an ocean feels monumental, and crossing continents still carries a sense of enormity. The numbers themselves are difficult to truly feel. The circumference of Earth, the millions of square kilometers of surface, the thickness of the atmosphere that protects all life. These facts are known, yet rarely sensed. Our minds translate them into trips, distances, and effort, grounding cosmic measurements in human experience. From this perspective, Earth feels self-contained and dominant. It feels like a world that could stand alone, vast enough to hold everything that matters. And for the human mind, standing quietly on its surface, that feeling is completely natural. But this familiar sense of scale is only the beginning. It is the viewpoint shaped by gravity beneath our feet and air in our lungs. To understand what Earth truly is, we will soon need to gently step beyond this perspective and allow our sense of size to slowly, carefully change. At some point, a quiet shift begins to happen. Earth is no longer experienced from the ground beneath our feet, but from a distance beyond it. The familiar sense of completeness starts to loosen, and our planet slowly becomes an object rather than the entire stage of existence. As we move away, continents lose their names and borders. Oceans blend into vast fields of blue. Mountains flatten into subtle textures. What once felt endless now fits comfortably within a single view, suspended in darkness, delicate and finite. This is the first true moment of shrinking, not because Earth has changed, but because our point of view has. From space, the planet no longer feels dominant. It feels contained, defined, and quietly isolated within an enormous void. The blackness surrounding Earth is not empty in the way our instincts imagine. It is deep, silent, and vast beyond intuition. The space between worlds is so immense that even our closest cosmic neighbor feels impossibly far away. In this context, Earth is no longer the center of everything, but one presence among many. Seen from afar, Earth becomes a thin shell of activity wrapped around a solid core. Its atmosphere, which once felt infinite above our heads, reveals itself as a fragile veil, a boundary so thin that from this distance, it barely seems real at all. This perspective carries a subtle emotional weight. The planet appears peaceful, beautiful, and vulnerable all at once. There are no visible borders, no signs of conflict, no indication of how busy or divided its surface truly is. Everything human fades into invisibility. Looking at Earth this way, it becomes clear that scale is not just a matter of distance, but of meaning. What once felt enormous now feels precious. What once felt permanent now feels temporary, sustained by delicate balances we rarely notice. This moment is not meant to diminish our world, but to reframe it. Earth does not lose its importance by becoming smaller in our view. Instead, its rarity and significance quietly grow. And as we continue outward, leaving behind the comfort of familiar proportions, this first shrinking prepares us for something deeper, a gradual unfolding of scale, where Earth will continue to recede, and our understanding of size, distance, and belonging will begin to transform. As we drift farther from Earth, the next presence slowly comes into view. It is familiar, yet often misunderstood. The moon appears calm and close in the night sky, but distance reveals a different truth about both its scale and its separation from us. From Earth, the moon feels like a constant companion. It rises and sets with comforting regularity, hanging above the horizon as if it were just beyond reach. But when we step back into space, the emptiness between Earth and its nearest neighbor becomes impossible to ignore. The gap is vast, filled not with stars or landmarks, but with silence. The moon is smaller than Earth, yet far larger than our intuition suggests. Seen side by side, it is not a pebble orbiting a giant world, but a substantial sphere in its own right. Still, the space between them is so immense that both bodies appear isolated, separated by a darkness that stretches on without reference points. Photographs from space often deceive the eye. Without familiar objects for scale, the moon can seem closer than it truly is. In reality, that distance could hold every planet in the solar system lined up end to end with room to spare. Space is not crowded, it is overwhelmingly empty. Despite this separation, the moon quietly shapes life on Earth. Its gravity pulls on the oceans, creating tides that rise and fall with steady rhythm. It stabilizes Earth's axis, helping to keep our climate relatively calm over long stretches of time. Without it, the planet beneath our feet would be a far more chaotic place. At rare moments, the moon aligns perfectly between Earth and the sun. Day turns briefly to night, shadows sharpen, and the sky grows still. These events reveal not just beauty, but precision. Distances, sizes, and motions align with extraordinary accuracy, reminding us that even vast separations can produce intimate effects. The moon is also slowly drifting away. Each year, the distance grows by a small but measurable amount. Long ago, days on Earth were shorter, tides stronger, and the moon loomed larger in the sky. Time, on a cosmic scale, quietly stretches everything apart. When humans first stepped onto the lunar surface, it was not just a technological achievement. It was a crossing of an enormous void, a reminder that even our closest neighbor exists far beyond the scales we experience in daily life. Seen from this distance, Earth and the Moon form a fragile pair, two worlds bound together, yet surrounded by an ocean of darkness. And as we continue outward, this sense of separation will only deepen, revealing just how alone even familiar companions truly are. As our view continues to widen, Earth and the Moon begin to drift into the background, and another presence quietly takes over the scene. Ahead of us is the Sun, not as the gentle disk we see rising and setting each day, but as a colossal body that reshapes our understanding of size entirely. From the surface of Earth, the Sun feels distant and manageable. It warms our skin, lights our days, and disappears each night, as if it was simply moving around us. But from space, its true dominance becomes impossible to ignore. The Sun is not just another object in the sky. It is the anchor of everything that moves here. Placed beside it, Earth shrinks instantly. Our planet could fit inside the Sun more than 1,000,000 times by volume, disappearing into its vast interior like a grain of dust. Even this comparison, though mathematically accurate, fails to convey the emotional weight of the difference. The Sun does not merely outsize Earth, it overwhelms it. Light itself becomes a measure of distance now. Sunlight takes over 8 minutes to reach Earth, racing through empty space at a speed nothing can surpass. This gap, though invisible in everyday life, is enormous. And yet, within the scale of the solar system, it is still considered close. The Sun's mass dominates the entire system. Nearly all the material here belongs to it, bending space around itself and guiding the paths of planets with quiet authority. Earth does not orbit by choice. It is held in place by gravity so deep and persistent that escape would require unimaginable energy. At its core, the Sun is a furnace beyond comprehension. Nuclear reactions fuse atoms together, releasing vast amounts of energy every second. This steady output has illuminated Earth for billions of years, driving winds, weather, oceans, and life itself. Without this constant flow, our world would freeze into silence almost instantly. The Sun is not always calm. Storms erupt across its surface, sending waves of charged particles outward into space. When these reach Earth, they paint the skies with auroras or disrupt the fragile systems we depend on. Even from this distance, the Sun reminds us of its power. For much of human history, Earth was believed to sit at the center of everything. The Sun was thought to circle us, reinforcing the feeling that our world was special and fixed. Letting go of that idea was one of humanity's most difficult shifts in perspective. Here, in the presence of the Sun's true scale, that illusion finally dissolves. Earth is no longer the reference point. It is one of many worlds, quietly circling a star that dwarfs it beyond intuition. And as we continue outward, this realization prepares us for an even greater transformation. Because the Sun itself, immense as it seems, is only one star among countless others waiting beyond. With the Sun now behind us, the space around it begins to reveal structure. What once felt like empty darkness slowly fills with motion, paths, and distant worlds. This is not chaos, but a carefully balanced system shaped by gravity and time. Closest to the Sun are the rocky worlds. Small, dense planets move along tight paths, shaped by heat and ancient collisions. Their surfaces tell stories of fire, pressure, and impact, frozen in stone. Among them, Earth is just one outcome of countless variations, not a final design. Beyond these inner worlds lies a region many imagine as crowded, yet is anything but. The asteroid belt stretches wide, but its objects are separated by vast distances. From here, space feels open and quiet. Even where debris exists, emptiness dominates. Farther out, scale shifts again. The gas giants emerge, enormous beyond human intuition. Jupiter's mass alone rivals that of all other planets combined. Its gravity sculpts the system, redirecting comets and shielding inner worlds from constant bombardment. Nearby, Saturn drifts with its vast rings, delicate structures spread across immense distances. composed of countless icy fragments moving in silence. Beyond them, the light grows colder. The ice giants orbit at distances where sunlight weakens and time seems to slow. Their paths are long and patient, taking decades to complete a single journey around the sun. Out here, warmth is rare, and motion unfolds on scales far beyond human lifetimes. What becomes clear is that the solar system is not compact. The spaces between planets are enormous, far greater than the worlds themselves. If scaled down to familiar proportions, planets would be mere points, separated by kilometers of nothingness. Space, even here, is defined more by absence than presence. From this perspective, Earth's orbit is just one thread in a vast gravitational tapestry. The sun's influence reaches far, but it does not fill the system with substance. Instead, it holds together islands of matter drifting through an ocean of dark. The solar system now feels less like a collection of objects and more like a volume, a region of space shaped by one star's gravity, mostly empty, quietly in motion. This understanding further loosens our sense of scale, preparing us for the realization that even this entire system is only a small pocket within something far larger. As we continue outward, the sun's hold will weaken and the boundaries of its influence will blur. The sense of structure we feel here will slowly dissolve into something even more vast and unfamiliar. Beyond the familiar orbits of the major planets, the solar system does not simply end. Instead, it thins out, slowly and quietly, transitioning into a region where objects become rarer, colder, and far more distant. This is the outer frontier of the sun's domain, a place where scale begins to stretch beyond anything we normally imagine. Here, the warmth of sunlight fades into a weak glow. Distances grow so large that even the concept of an orbit starts to feel abstract. Time itself seems to slow down. A single journey around the sun can take centuries, and changes unfold so gradually that they escape human notice entirely. In this distant realm, countless icy bodies drift through space. They are remnants from the earliest days of the solar system, preserved in deep cold, largely untouched for billions of years. Each one is a fragment of history, a record of how planets were formed and how material once moved through this region long before Earth existed. Some of these objects follow elongated paths, slowly circling the sun at staggering distances. Others wander on tilted orbits, hinting at ancient gravitational disturbances. This region is not neatly arranged. It is a scattered archive, shaped by time, chance, and the long reach of gravity. Among these distant worlds, one object in particular once held a familiar place in human imagination. For generations, it was counted among the planets, standing at the edge of the known system. Yet when viewed in proper context, it revealed something important. It was not unique, but part of a much larger population. This realization quietly shifted our sense of scale once again. What seemed like the final boundary was only a gateway to something broader. Earth, already reduced in comparison to planets and stars, now feels smaller still when placed alongside this vast collection of frozen remnants. The outer solar system is not dense. Objects are separated by enormous distances, so wide that collisions are rare and encounters are slow. Space here feels profoundly empty, even when populated by countless unseen bodies. Darkness dominates, broken only by faint reflections of distant sunlight. From this perspective, the sun's influence still exists, but it is no longer absolute. Gravity weakens with distance, and the pull that holds planets in their paths becomes subtle. The solar system begins to feel less like a solid structure and more like a fading presence, gradually dissolving into interstellar space. What this region teaches us is not just about distance, but about humility. The worlds we once thought marked the end are merely part of a much larger, quieter expanse. Earth, with all its complexity and life, is bound to a system that extends far beyond visibility, yet remains only a small island within the galaxy. As we move farther still, even these distant objects will begin to blur into the background. The idea of a clear edge will fade, and with it, our understanding of where the solar system truly ends will be replaced by something far more subtle and far more vast. Far beyond the last recognized planets, beyond the fading paths of familiar orbits, the solar system enters a realm where definitions begin to blur. This is not a place marked by clear borders or dramatic transitions. Instead, it is a gradual thinning, where the presence of the sun becomes weaker and space itself begins to feel deeper, older, and more indifferent. Here, objects no longer resemble worlds in the way we instinctively understand them. They are small, dark, and composed mostly of ice and ancient rock. They drift slowly, tracing immense paths that take thousands of years to complete. Each one is a quiet survivor from the earliest moments of the solar system, preserved in cold darkness, largely unchanged since the time planets were still forming. This distant region is vast beyond intuition. The space between objects is so great that even if countless bodies exist here, encounters are rare. From any single point, the surroundings would appear almost completely empty. Darkness dominates, broken only by faint, distant starlight and the barely perceptible glow of the sun, now reduced to just another bright star among many. In this outer expanse, the idea of scale begins to lose its familiar meaning. Distances are no longer measured in millions of kilometers, but in billions. Travel times stretch beyond generations, beyond civilizations. Human history becomes irrelevant against the slow, patient motion unfolding here. What is striking is how quiet this region feels. There are no storms like those on giant planets, no blazing radiation, no dramatic collisions. Everything moves with extreme slowness, guided by gravity so weak that even a passing star, far away by human standards, can subtly reshape these distant paths. This outer domain acts as a kind of memory for the solar system. It holds material left over from the era when planets were assembling, before Earth had oceans, before life emerged, before the sun settled into its long, stable phase. In this sense, it is not just distant in space, but distant in time. Placing Earth into this context changes its meaning once again. Our planet, already diminished when compared to stars and galaxies, now feels fragile and fleeting. All of human civilization exists deep inside a system that extends unimaginably far into darkness, bound together by forces we rarely consider. Out here, the sun no longer feels like a commanding presence. Its gravity still reaches, but only faintly. Its warmth is gone, its light is weak. The solar system begins to feel less like a defined structure and more like a gradual influence, fading outward into the vastness between stars. This realization challenges the instinct to search for edges. We want boundaries, clear lines that tell us where something ends, but the universe rarely offers such clarity. Instead, it reveals transitions, gradients, and overlapping influences that stretch far beyond our expectations. As we move farther still, even this distant region begins to dissolve into a larger context. The sun's hold becomes fragile. The distinction between what belongs to our system and what belongs to the galaxy starts to blur. And with that, we approach a scale where the solar system itself no longer feels like a complete entity, but like one small pattern woven into something far greater. This is the threshold where familiarity finally gives way to true vastness. A place where the idea of home becomes abstract, and where the quiet immensity of space reminds us that even entire star systems are temporary arrangements drifting through a universe that does not center on us, yet somehow still includes us. Far beyond the fading influence of the sun, beyond regions where even distant icy bodies become scarce, there exists a realm that feels almost unreal in its scale. This is not a place we can visit or observe directly. It is known only through gravity, through subtle effects and through quiet inference. Here, the solar system no longer feels like a collection of objects, but like a vast, invisible envelope surrounding everything within. This distant expanse is thought to surround the solar system in all directions, forming a loose, spherical cloud that stretches unimaginably far into space. The distances involved are so extreme that familiar units lose meaning. What once required minutes of light now demands months. What once felt distant now feels impossibly remote. Objects here are countless, yet nearly invisible. They are small, frozen remnants left over from the earliest moments of planetary formation. Each one drifts alone, separated from others by immense voids. From their perspective, the sun would no longer dominate the sky. It would appear as just another bright star, slightly more prominent than the rest, but no longer central or commanding. Time in this region moves on scales that defy human comprehension. A single orbit around the sun could take hundreds of thousands, even millions of years. Entire species could rise and vanish on Earth before one of these distant bodies completes even a fraction of its journey. Motion still exists, but it unfolds with a patience that borders on stillness. Gravity here is delicate. The sun's pull is present, but weak, easily disturbed by passing stars that drift through the galaxy over vast spans of time. When one of these stars passes close enough, it can gently tug at this distant cloud, sending some objects slowly inward, beginning long falls toward the inner solar system. What we sometimes witness as sudden visitors from the depths of space begin their journeys here. This region is less a boundary and more a memory. It preserves material from an era before planets had settled into stable paths, before Earth had cooled, before oceans formed. While the inner solar system has been reshaped again and again by heat, impact, and life, this distant cloud remains largely unchanged, holding the raw ingredients of ancient time. Standing back and placing Earth within this immense structure changes everything once again. Our planet, already small compared to stars and galaxies, now exists deep inside an envelope that stretches nearly to the realm of other suns. The solar system no longer feels compact or even particularly isolated. It feels porous, open, and subtly connected to the broader galaxy. Out here, the idea of an edge becomes meaningless. There is no clear line where the solar system stops and interstellar space begins. Instead, there is overlap, a gradual blending where the sun's influence fades and the galaxy's presence grows stronger. The distinction between ours and not ours becomes a matter of perspective rather than location. This distant cloud reminds us that even systems that feel stable and permanent are not closed or protected. They are shaped by their environment, influenced by neighbors, and subject to forces far beyond their centers. The solar system is not an island with firm shores. It is more like a tide pool within a much larger cosmic ocean. As we linger here, at this scale, a quiet realization settles in. Home is not defined by boundaries, and significance is not determined by size. Earth's meaning does not diminish because it sits so deeply within this vastness. Instead, its rarity becomes clearer. Life exists not at the edge of the universe, but within a fragile inner sanctuary, surrounded by darkness that stretches almost beyond thought. And as we prepare to move beyond even this distant realm, one truth becomes unavoidable. The solar system, immense as it feels from within, is only a small structure embedded inside something far greater. A single star's domain, floating quietly among countless others, all drifting together through the endless, patient silence of the galaxy. At this distance, the idea of a clear boundary finally dissolves. What we have been moving through is no longer a system with an edge, but a gradual transition. The outer reaches of the sun's influence do not end abruptly. They fade, slowly and unevenly, into the surrounding galaxy. Here, gravity no longer belongs to a single star. The sun still reaches outward, but its pull is weak and easily contested. Other stars, passing at immense distances, exert their own influence. Space becomes a shared domain, shaped not by one center, but by many distant forces overlapping across vast scales. The farthest regions tied to the Sun stretch so far that light itself takes years to cross them. These distances challenge intuition completely. Even at the speed of light, movement feels slow. From this perspective, the solar system is no longer something compact. It is an extended distortion in space, thinning until it becomes almost indistinguishable from its surroundings. This region is not a wall. There is no final marker that says, beyond this point, the solar system ends. Instead, there is ambiguity. Objects here may still respond faintly to the Sun, while also being influenced by the broader gravitational field of the galaxy. Ownership becomes unclear. Belonging becomes a matter of degree rather than definition. Time feels different here as well. The motions are so slow, the distances so vast, that cause and effect stretch across millions of years. A small gravitational nudge today may not reveal its outcome until long after civilizations have vanished. The universe operates with a patience that dwarfs all human timelines. Placing Earth within this context reshapes its story once more. Everything we know, every moment of history, every trace of culture, exists deep inside this fading region of influence. Our entire world unfolds far from these distant thresholds, protected by proximity to the Sun, unaware of how far its reach truly extends. At this scale, the solar system itself begins to feel temporary, not in the sense that it will vanish tomorrow, but in the sense that it is not fixed or eternal. Over cosmic time, stars drift, pass near one another, and reshape their surroundings. The Sun's domain will change, stretch, and erode as it moves through the galaxy. This realization removes the comfort of permanence. Systems are not isolated. They are shaped by environments, influenced by neighbors, and altered by time. The solar system is not a closed structure, but a participant in a much larger cosmic flow. Standing here at the fading edge of the Sun's influence, the idea of inside and outside loses clarity. The universe does not organize itself according to human categories. It prefers gradients, overlaps, and transitions. Boundaries exist only where we choose to draw them. And as we allow that understanding to settle, another shift quietly occurs. The focus begins to move away from the Sun entirely. Its presence, once overwhelming, now feels modest. Ahead lies a broader context, one filled with countless other stars, each with their own fading regions of influence, each drifting through the same vast galactic space. From here, the solar system no longer feels like a destination. It feels like a chapter, a single arrangement among many, floating within a galaxy that does not pause for any one star, any one world, or any one story. As the Sun's influence fades into the background, a broader neighborhood begins to reveal itself. This is the region of space where our star is no longer unique or central, but simply one presence among many. The darkness that once felt empty now becomes populated, not with crowds, but with distant points of light, separated by immense stretches of silence. From this perspective, the Sun is an ordinary star. It does not burn the brightest, nor does it stand out by size or rarity. It belongs to a vast population of stars drifting together through the galaxy, each carrying its own small domain of planets, dust, and fading gravitational reach. The distances between these stars are staggering. Even though they appear close together in the night sky, they are separated by gaps so wide that if the entire solar system were shrunk to the size of a coin, the nearest star would still be hundreds of kilometers away. Space, even in our local neighborhood, is overwhelmingly empty. This vast separation creates a profound sense of isolation. Each star travels alone, bound loosely to others by the galaxy's gravity, yet separated by distances that make interaction rare. The term neighbor feels almost misleading. These stars share the same region of space, but they are not close in any meaningful human sense. Light becomes the only messenger across these distances. When we see a nearby star, we are not seeing it as it is now, but as it was years ago. Even the closest stellar light carries a delay that reminds us how large these separations truly are. Space is not just wide, it is deep in time as well. Placing Earth within this environment shifts perspective once again. Our planet orbits a single, unremarkable star, located in a region of the galaxy that is neither crowded nor special. Nothing about our position suggests importance or centrality. We are not at the heart of anything, we are simply present. Yet there is a quiet elegance in this realization. The same physical laws govern every nearby star system. Gravity, light, and time operate everywhere with the same indifference. The processes that shaped Earth are not unique to us. They are part of a broader pattern repeated across the galaxy. In this local stellar neighborhood, motion unfolds on vast scales. Stars drift relative to one another, slowly changing positions over millions of years. Constellations are temporary illusions, shaped by our brief moment in time. Given enough patience, the night sky would become unrecognizable. What once felt like the universe now feels like a small district within something far larger. Our sense of scale continues to stretch, pulling us away from the comfort of familiar reference points. The Sun, Earth, and even the entire solar system begin to feel modest against this backdrop. As we linger here, surrounded by distant suns, another truth becomes clear. Isolation does not mean insignificance. Existing in a quiet region of space does not diminish the value of what happens within it. Life, awareness, and meaning arise not from position, but from experience. And as our view continues to expand, this local neighborhood will soon give way to an even greater structure. A vast, rotating system of stars, dust, and dark matter, within which all of these suns are merely moving parts. The sense of scale will shift once again, carrying us toward a home that is far larger and far less intimate than anything we have known so far. Gradually, the scattered stars of our local neighborhood begin to merge into a larger presence. Individual points of light lose their isolation, and a vast structure takes shape around them. This is not a single object, but a system so immense that it reshapes our understanding of what it means to belong anywhere at all. We find ourselves within a galaxy, not as visitors looking in from the outside, but as inhabitants embedded deep within its rotating body. From this vantage point, the galaxy is not a distant spiral in the sky. It is the environment that holds every star we have known so far, including our own. This galactic home is composed of hundreds of billions of stars, bound together by gravity and moving in a slow, majestic rotation. Between these stars lies dust, gas, and vast regions of darkness. From within, the galaxy feels less like a single structure and more like an endless landscape, layered with depth and motion in every direction. Our Sun occupies no special position here. It does not sit near the center, nor at the edge, but within one of many spiral arms, far from anything remarkable. This arm is not brighter, denser, or more important than the others. It is simply one pathway among many, winding quietly around the galactic core. From Earth, the galaxy reveals itself as a soft band of light stretching across the night sky. This glow is not a cloud or a single object, but the combined light of countless distant stars, too far away to be seen individually. What appears gentle and thin from our perspective is, in reality, unimaginably thick and deep. Distances within this structure defy all familiar reference points. Light takes tens of thousands of years to cross from one side of the galaxy to the other. Entire civilizations could rise and vanish, while a single beam of light completes its journey across this stellar disk. Space here is not just wide, it is prolonged across time itself. Within this vast system, stars are born and die continuously. Clouds of gas collapse under gravity, igniting new suns. Elsewhere, stars exhaust their fuel and fade or explode, enriching the galaxy with heavier elements. The material that makes up planets, oceans, and living bodies is recycled through these long, patient processes. Placing Earth into this context creates a quiet shift in perspective. Our planet exists around one star, in one arm, in one galaxy among many. Nothing about this position suggests destiny or design. And yet, within this ordinary setting, complexity emerged, awareness arose. The universe, through us, began to observe itself. The galaxy does not revolve around our needs or our timelines. Its rotation is slow and indifferent. A single orbit of the Sun around the galactic center takes hundreds of millions of years. Since life first appeared on Earth, our star has completed only a small fraction of this journey. From this scale, human history compresses into something nearly invisible. Empires, languages, and entire cultures occupy moments that barely register against galactic motion. And yet, those moments matter deeply to those who live within them. Here, meaning is no longer tied to size or position. The galaxy does not grant importance by proximity to its center or by mass or brightness. It simply exists, vast and patient, allowing countless stories to unfold within its bounds. As we rest within this understanding, the sense of scale shifts once again. The galaxy feels enormous, stable, and complete. It begins to take on the role that Earth once held in our imagination. A totality, a boundary, a home large enough to contain everything that matters. But this feeling too is temporary, because even this immense structure is not alone. Beyond its edges lie others, scattered across distances so vast that the galaxy itself will soon begin to feel small. And so, gently, without urgency, our perspective prepares to expand once more, leaving behind the comfort of a single galactic home and moving toward a universe where even galaxies are just pieces of a much greater whole. When we begin to sense the true size of our galaxy, familiar comparisons quietly collapse. The Milky Way is not large in a way the human mind can easily grasp. It is vast in a way that resists imagination altogether. Distances here are no longer measured by travel or effort, but by the limits of light itself. From one side of the galaxy to the other, light takes around 100,000 years to complete its journey. That single fact alone stretches beyond intuition. A beam leaving the far edge began its voyage long before modern humans existed, before agriculture, before language as we know it. While it travels, entire histories unfold and disappear, unnoticed by the silent motion of the galaxy. The galaxy is not a flat image like the photographs we often see. It has thickness, depth, and layered complexity. Stars are spread through a disk tens of thousands of light years wide and thousands of light years thick. From inside it, there is no single direction where it ends. Every line of sight leads through immense distances filled with scattered light and shadow. Earth's position within this structure becomes almost impossible to locate in any meaningful way. Our planet is not even a point on this scale. It is less than a grain of dust within a continent-sized landscape. If the galaxy were reduced to the size of a continent, Earth would be smaller than a single bacterium hidden within its soil. The numbers themselves stop being useful. They can be stated, repeated, memorized, but not truly felt. 100 billion stars, trillions of potential planets. These figures describe abundance, not comprehension. The human mind evolved to understand forests, oceans, and skies, not structures that take light longer to cross than civilization has existed. From this scale, even stars lose their individuality. They blend into patterns, currents, and glowing regions. What once appeared as unique suns become part of a vast stellar population, moving together through the galaxy's slow rotation. Identity gives way to distribution. Time stretches along with distance. Stars live for millions or billions of years. Some were already shining when the galaxy itself was young. Others will continue long after Earth is gone. Against these lifespans, a human life becomes not just brief, but almost mathematically negligible. And yet, this immensity does not feel hostile. It feels quiet. The galaxy is not rushing. It is not expanding violently within itself. It turns slowly, patiently, allowing matter to drift, gather, ignite, and fade. Its size is not aggressive. It is indifferent. Understanding this size changes the emotional weight of existence. Problems that once felt overwhelming begin to feel smaller. Achievements that once felt permanent become fleeting. But this shrinking is not nihilistic. It does not erase meaning. It reframes it. Meaning no longer comes from being large or central. It comes from being rare, from being aware, from existing at all within a structure so vast that it does not require us, yet somehow includes us. Earth, in this context, is not insignificant because it is small. It is extraordinary because something on this scale can host life that reflects on the galaxy itself. The universe does not need consciousness to function, but consciousness arises anyway, briefly, in tiny places. As we sit with this understanding, the galaxy stops feeling like a background and starts feeling like an environment. A vast, ancient space in which countless stories unfold unnoticed. Our story is just one of them, small, fragile, and temporary. And still, the mind reaches for something larger because, as enormous as the Milky Way is, it does not stand alone. Its size, which now feels overwhelming, will soon be placed into a broader context. The sense of totality begins to loosen again. The galaxy, once imagined as the largest structure that mattered, quietly prepares to become just another step in a universe that continues to expand far beyond even this staggering scale. From the surface of Earth, the world feels immense in a way that is deeply convincing. The ground beneath our feet stretches outward until it meets the horizon, and beyond that point, our imagination quietly fills in what we cannot see. Mountains rise like permanent monuments, oceans appear endless, and the sky above feels impossibly high. From here, Earth does not feel small, it feels complete. Everyday experience reinforces this feeling. Crossing a city takes time. Traveling between countries can take days. Crossing an ocean feels like a major undertaking. Distance is measured in effort, fatigue, and duration. And through this lens, the planet feels vast enough to contain everything that matters. Oceans dominate most of the surface, hiding depths that remain largely unexplored even today. Continents carry deserts, forests, ice sheets, and sprawling mountain ranges shaped over millions of years. Weather systems move across hemispheres, seasons cycle slowly and predictably. From the human perspective, Earth feels layered, dynamic, and richly complex. For ancient humans, this sense of scale defined reality itself. The Earth was not just large, it was the foundation of existence. The ground felt solid and unmoving, while the sky appeared as a distant realm of lights and motion. Stars rose and set, the sun crossed the heavens, the moon followed its familiar path. Everything seemed to revolve around the world beneath one's feet. Early ideas about the planet were shaped by how far a person could walk, ride, or sail. Maps ended where experience ended. Mountains marked the edges of the known world. Oceans felt like boundaries rather than connections. The idea that Earth might be curved, let alone floating through space, was far removed from everyday intuition. Even as knowledge expanded, instinct remained stubbornly human. We still perceive Earth through journeys and time. A flight across the planet feels monumental. Circumnavigating the globe remains a powerful achievement. Although we know the numbers, the scale is still felt through lived experience rather than abstract measurement. The atmosphere above us seems vast when viewed from the ground. The sky feels deep and endless. Clouds tower overhead, and storms fill entire horizons. It is difficult to sense that this protective layer is, in reality, incredibly thin. From where we stand, it feels like an infinite ceiling. Earth's rotation defines our days and nights so smoothly that it feels natural and still. Its movement through space is completely hidden from our senses. We feel no motion, no acceleration, no hint that we are traveling at enormous speeds. The planet feels stable, fixed, and permanent. This perspective is not wrong. It is simply local. It is the view shaped by gravity holding us close, by air filling our lungs, by senses evolved to survive on the surface of a single world. From here, Earth is the center of experience, and it feels reasonable to assume it is the center of importance as well. Standing on the ground, surrounded by familiar scales, it is natural to believe that this world is large enough to be the whole story, that everything beyond it must be distant, secondary, or abstract. Earth feels like a complete stage, wide enough to hold all of history, all life, and all meaning. This is where our journey begins. Not by rejecting this perspective, but by acknowledging it. Because to truly understand how small Earth is, we must first understand why it feels so large. Only then can we gently step beyond this viewpoint and allow our sense of scale to change, one layer at a time. From the surface of Earth, our world feels vast in a way that is deeply persuasive. The land stretches outward until it disappears into the curve of the horizon. And beyond that line, the mind naturally assumes more of the same. Mountains rise with a sense of permanence, oceans appear boundless, and the sky arches overhead like an endless dome. Standing here, it is difficult to imagine any limit to the space we inhabit. Our daily experience reinforces this illusion of enormity. Distance is felt through effort and time. Walking across a city can take hours. Traveling between countries can take days. Crossing an ocean feels like a major undertaking that requires planning, technology, and endurance. When distance is measured in fatigue, cost, and commitment, Earth feels more than large enough to contain everything important. Most of the planet is covered by oceans whose depths remain largely unexplored. Beneath the surface lie mountain ranges, trenches, and landscapes as dramatic as anything on land, hidden under kilometers of water. Continents themselves carry deserts shaped by wind, forests layered with life, ice sheets older than civilization, and mountains formed by slow collisions over unimaginable spans of time. From a human perspective, Earth feels dense with features, history, and motion. For the vast majority of human history, this sense of scale defined reality itself. The Earth was not simply a place to live, it was the foundation of existence. The ground felt solid and unmoving, while the sky felt distant and mysterious. Lights moved across it, seasons changed, and weather arrived from unseen places, but the world beneath one's feet remained constant and central. Ancient people measured the size of the world by how far they could travel. The edge of the known world was the edge of experience. Mountains marked boundaries. Oceans felt like final barriers rather than passages. The idea that the Earth might curve away beneath the horizon was difficult to accept, not because it was impossible, but because it conflicted with everything the senses reported. Even as knowledge expanded and maps filled in, instinct remained deeply human. We still feel the size of the planet through travel time rather than numbers. Flying halfway around the world feels monumental. Circumnavigating the globe remains a symbolic achievement. We may know the measurements, but we do not live them. We live in. As we move inward toward the heart of the galaxy, the calm, ordered rotation of stars begins to change in character. The density increases, distances between stars shrink. Motion becomes faster, more complex, and less predictable. At the center of it all lies something that cannot be seen directly, yet defines the behavior of everything around it. This central region is not marked by light, but by gravity. Stars near the galactic core move at extraordinary speeds, orbiting an unseen mass with such intensity that ordinary explanations fall away. The closer we look, the clearer it becomes that something profoundly powerful resides there. At the very center of the Milky Way exists a supermassive black hole. It is not a hole in the traditional sense, nor a cosmic vacuum that pulls everything toward it indiscriminately. It is a region where matter has been compressed beyond any familiar state, where gravity bends space and time so severely that our everyday intuitions no longer apply. This object outweighs the Sun by millions of times, yet occupies a region smaller than the orbit of some planets. Its density is so extreme that nothing crossing a certain boundary can ever return, not even light itself. From outside, it appears dark and silent. From within, it reshapes the very structure of reality. Around this central mass, stars follow distorted paths. Their orbits are not gentle or circular, but fast, elongated, and sometimes chaotic. Entire stellar systems dance around this invisible anchor, guided by gravity that overwhelms everything else in the region. What we observe is not destruction, but control, order emerging from immense force. Time behaves differently here. According to our best understanding, clocks near such intense gravity would tick more slowly than those far away. In this region, time itself is stretched, subtly altered by the curvature of space. Past, present, and future no longer feel as cleanly separated as they do in everyday life. Yet despite its power, this central black hole is not actively consuming the galaxy. It does not pull stars inward relentlessly. Most of the time, it remains quiet, influencing its surroundings through gravity alone. The Milky Way does not spiral into chaos because of it. Instead, it rotates in a stable, long-lasting structure, shaped in part by this hidden core. Placing Earth into this context creates a profound shift in perspective. Our planet exists tens of thousands of light-years away from this center, orbiting peacefully in a distant spiral arm. The forces that dominate the galactic core barely touch us. Our daily lives unfold far from this extreme environment, sheltered by distance. Still, knowing it exists changes how we understand our home. The galaxy is not just a collection of stars scattered randomly through space. It has a center, a deep gravitational heart that binds everything together, even across unimaginable distances. The motion of our sun, slow and steady, is ultimately tied to this invisible presence. This realization is humbling. At the core of the structure that contains our world lies something so extreme that it defies direct experience. We live in a universe where the most influential objects are often unseen, known only through their effects on everything else. And yet, even this is not the final scale. The black hole at the center of our galaxy, immense as it is not unique. Other galaxies host similar or even larger ones. What feels like an ultimate center is, once again, just one instance of a broader pattern. As we step back from this galactic heart, another layer of perspective begins to emerge. The Milky Way itself, with its central black hole and hundreds of billions of stars, is not the dominant structure in the universe. It is part of something larger still. The journey does not end at the center, it simply changes direction. And with each change, our sense of size, importance, and belonging continues to soften, making room for a universe that grows quieter, larger, and more astonishing with every step outward. When we finally step beyond the boundaries of our own galaxy, the sense of scale shifts once again, in a way that feels almost disorienting. The Milky Way, which once seemed vast enough to contain everything, now becomes a single structure among countless others. Its spiral arms, glowing with billions of stars, fade into just one pattern in a much larger cosmic field. In the darkness beyond our galactic home, other galaxies emerge. They are not rare or isolated. They fill space in every direction, scattered across distances so great that even light takes millions or billions of years to travel between them. Each one is a vast system in its own right, containing hundreds of billions of stars, untold numbers of planets, and histories as long and complex as our own. One nearby galaxy stands out, not because it is unique, but because it is close enough for us to sense its presence. It drifts through space alongside the Milky Way, drawn by mutual gravity. Though separated by an enormous void, the slow approach between these two galaxies is inevitable, unfolding over spans of time far beyond human comprehension. Seen from this scale, galaxies are not simple collections of stars. They are islands of matter embedded in an ocean of darkness. Between them lies space that is nearly empty, yet not meaningless. Gravity stretches across these voids, shaping the motion of entire galactic systems and guiding them into groups and families. Each galaxy is a world unto itself. Within their swirling disks and glowing halos, stars are born, live out their long lives, and die. Heavy elements are forged, planets assemble, and in some rare locations, conditions may allow life to arise. From this perspective, a galaxy feels less like a distant object and more like a self-contained universe. The number of galaxies visible to us is staggering. Hundreds of billions populate the observable universe, each one a massive structure composed of countless smaller systems. The human mind struggles to hold this quantity in any meaningful way. The idea that our own galaxy could be just one among so many challenges the instinct to place ourselves at the center of anything. Time deepens this realization. When we observe distant galaxies, we are not seeing them as they are now, but as they were long ago. Light leaving them began its journey before Earth had formed, before the sun ignited, before the Milky Way took its current shape. Looking outward becomes a form of looking backward through cosmic history. Placing Earth into this context diminishes none of its beauty, but it does transform our sense of importance. Our planet exists around one star in one galaxy that does not stand out in any fundamental way. There is no cosmic marker that points to our location as special. We are part of a vast pattern that does not revolve around us. Yet within this vastness, something remarkable emerges. The same laws of physics operate everywhere. The same processes shape stars and galaxies across unimaginable distances. This consistency allows complexity to arise again and again in countless forms across the universe. Galaxies interact, merge, and sometimes tear each other apart. Over billions of years, they grow, change shape, and evolve. Nothing at this scale is static. Even the largest structures we know are temporary arrangements, shifting slowly through time. As we absorb this perspective, another quiet transformation takes place. The Milky Way loses its sense of finality. It is no longer the container of everything that matters. It becomes a participant in a much larger cosmic story, one shared with countless other galaxies drifting through space. And as our awareness continues to expand, even this immense population of galaxies will begin to feel like only part of a greater structure. The universe, it seems, has many more layers to reveal, each one larger, quieter, and more humbling than the last.